Well, welcome everyone to this episode of the Glory Boys podcast.
Yo, yo.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Darren.
And today we're talking about Wedding Films 101.
Yeah, we're here.
We're back.
Yeah, we're kind of, it's been a good day. We're kind of batch editing a couple of these things and just recording. We have a cool little setup here. So we're just taking advantage of it. And how you doing?
Good. Waiting on our neon sign to come in.
Yes, dude, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
In the meantime, hope you like the LED wall impromptu graphic that we have while we have the LED wall in here.
I think it works.
It works.
It looks pretty good.
Yeah. But
yeah, shout out to Tate Creative. They did this design for us. They're some of our great friends and they're amazing.
So good.
They do some of the best work ever.
This episode is brought to you by the drink sponsor of this episode is Orgain Protein Shakes.
They don't actually sponsor.
Not really. Not sponsored. Disclaimer.
But they should. I drink 2 of these a day. Actually, I'm obsessed. I love them. Anyway, so the segue. Hit it off.
What is the worst car ever?
Yikes. The worst car ever. The first one that comes to mind, in my opinion, is the Dodge Neon. It is so ugly, and I hate it a lot.
Dang.
Well,
it's pretty passionate.
I think the reason why that and the Chevy Cavalier kind of are like, but I like Chevy better than Dodge.
Sure.
And so I just naturally just hate the Neon. But people in my high school used to buy them and try to like soup them up. Yeah. And they just never did a great job. They never looked cool. They had really loud mufflers and huge spoilers, and it was disgusting. So I hate them. Even
the SRT4 version that they came out, that was like the fast one.
I didn't even pay attention anymore of that car. So for you, what's your least favorite or worst car?
My least favorite car has to be the smart car. But I will say there's always those people that will buy a Neon or like a different car and then they'll slap on the SRT badge.
Oh,
and that
yeah.
adds 20 horsepower. So those are my favorite cars, or like a Mustang and they'll slap the GT logo or a Shelby Cobra logo on it or something like that.
Amazon, $10, you can make your car better.
Oh yeah, it makes it so much faster. No, the smart car to me is the worst car ever made.
Yeah.
Even worse than Mini Coopers, which like they're tiny and they seem stupid, but they're kind of cool at least. Like they look cool.
I kind of dig them.
You know, there's Austin Powers and, you know, at least some cool like pop culture references.
Well, the Countryman's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, those are actually pretty sweet.
They're kind of cool.
Yeah. Like a tiny little SUV.
Yeah.
But the smart car is it's just like you took a mini fridge and you put it on wheels, but not the smart way. Like if you put the mini fridge sideways on wheels, at least that would make sense.
Sure.
But it's like you took a mini fridge, stood it upright, and then just put wheels on it.
Yeah.
To me, it looks like if you just hit a really big grasshopper, it would just tip the car over as you're like driving down the interstate. You like the grasshopper would knock you out.
Yeah.
So
That's a tough grasshopper.
I hate smart. I would like be terrified to drive one.
Yeah.
Especially in Nebraska.
It's like a little go-kart.
Yeah. They're terrible.
Okay, so we hate those cars. Awesome.
Worst cars ever.
What is your like dream car? What's your favorite car?
Dream car. Well, in an ideal world, I would just have like, you know, my Lambo for certain areas of town where there's no potholes and only on certain days when it's nice out. Yeah. And then I'd have, you know, maybe like the Range Rover for just a daily driver. And then, but like if I had to pick one car and that's the car I have to drive for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That's tough. I feel like I would have to go with like a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Like the AMG, like, or I think there's a company like Brabus or something like that makes like custom G-Wagons.
Yeah.
They're sick.
Yeah.
Terrible gas mileage, but if you can afford that car, you're not worried about gas mileage.
Nope.
And so that's what I would do, because I could just, you know, if I'm driving down the road and there's a smart car in front of me and they're going too slow, I could just run over it. Nice. Or, you know, get around in the snow, haul kids, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no, they're great cars. Yeah. I remember that one time we shot a wedding, there was a matte black G-Wagon with a red interior, and it was beautiful. Yeah, we geeked out over with the owner, and it was super nice. Yeah. So
what about you?
My favorite car, or a car I would dream about buying someday, I just recently in the last 6 months got a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I love it.
It's awesome.
I love it so much. Not only is it pretty spacious, we can throw all the gear in, but it gets through the snow so easy.
Yeah.
And I hate snow. And so I would probably get something in the Jeep family, and I've always really loved the Jeep SRT8s. I don't know exactly what I would do. I would probably soup it up and do some cool stuff to it and customize it, but I don't know. I like the Jeeps a lot, and I think they're practical, but they also are kind of beefy and rugged and manly.
Have you seen the new Grand Cherokee? Is it the XL?
I don't know, but yes, we talk about this all the time, but like the older body styles, just the nice beefy kind of wider bodies like just look a little bit better. And they're kind of sleeking everything down, slimming and rounding off corners a little bit more. And I don't care for that as much.
It's kind of a bummer. They're making SUVs look
more like cars.
Yeah, they're more sporty, I guess, but not in like an aggressive way, in like a mom car kind of way.
Yeah, totally.
So it is kind of a bummer.
Yeah. But. So I can always buy like a nice old one someday that someone's, rolling in. But anyway, awesome segue. Today's episode is really exciting. We're talking about weddings 101, wedding films 101. It's really our lane, our bread and butter, our whole company really was built upon this topic. We're very passionate about it. And so as we dive into this, let's just start off, right before we step into a wedding day. What are we thinking about? What are we doing? How are we preparing to best serve the bride that day?
Yeah. And as we go through this, we'll try our best to touch on, I think there's two different parts to this. There's the practical, what time do we show up? What's the flow of operations on a day? And then there's the more intangible, what kind of attitudes do we carry? What is our goals? What's really our objective on how to serve the bride?
100%.
And so before the wedding day, you want to make sure you're as prepared as possible. So we send the bride a questionnaire that we designed that has all of the information we could want on it. For example, what are the locations where you're getting ready? What's a point of contact? That was something that we implemented that has been great because you don't want to be texting the bride on her wedding day. You don't want to be reaching out to her, telling her you're on their way. You want to be texting the maid of honor, the personal attendant, whoever is the point of contact. So we put that on there. Locations, times, when are you getting ready? When does the bride start makeup? That's a really important one because that will dictate when we show up. Are you doing personalized vows? Are you doing a letter reading or a gift? Do you have a special exit? What time does the ceremony start? What time does the reception start? So all of this stuff, you want to know all of this so that you can know the flow of the day, you can best prepare for it. And so we send that out 2 months out. Obviously you'll collect, a general itinerary from them, but this is more for our timeline.
No, it's been super helpful having that point of contact, having the addresses. I mean, a lot of times I think early on we were kind of scrambling day of like, wait, are the guys here and the girls are here in this hotel, but we're driving to this guy's house. And it can get really, really chaotic. So as prepared as you can be, you'll just set yourself up for success that day.
Even like mapping out your routes. Figure out how long it's going to take you to get from the rendezvous point where you meet up with your team. We meet up at our office building before every wedding and we take one car. And so I know beforehand, it's a 20-minute drive from here to this location. Or sometimes the girls and guys are getting ready at different places. So you have to split up. And so really make sure you have a plan of attack going into the day. I'm going to drop Darren off at the girls. I'm going to go shoot the guys if we have to do that.
Totally.
And so if you need to split up, do that. But just really making sure you're prepared. And we show up on the day of. When do we show up?
So we'll always, so to kind of backtrack, we used to always show up as early as possible, thinking, we'll get a bunch of drone shots. We'll go get details of the venue or the home or wherever they're getting ready or the hotel. Although some of that is really important, we just found ourselves having way too much time. Not only that, but spending way too much time filling up our SD cards with footage that we weren't going to use in the film. So how we kind of gauged that over time was we would just wait till the bride was almost done getting ready with makeup. And then we would stage a couple last second shots of like last touch-ups. Eyelash, lipstick, setting spray are like the shots that we like to get.
Yeah, that was really the big thing is we were filling SD cards and having to switch out SD cards toward the end of the day. And we realized that we're shooting, 30 gigs of footage that we don't need. This may look different for you, but this is what we found that works really well for us. And so when we get there, sometimes we won't even bring our gear in. First thing, show up. what is our objective? Who are we looking to talk to?
Yeah, super important. This part can really set the tone for the whole morning. A lot of times energy in the room can be amazing. People are cranking music, they're having mimosas, they're having a good time, laughing. And then sometimes it can feel pretty heavy, where the bride is already stressed out, mom is making people mad, or sister is doing something, and we just have to assess the situation and best serve the situation. So we'll right away meet the bride. Hey, so happy to see you and meet you. This is going to be such an amazing day. We're so excited for you. And then we'll go straight to meeting mom and the groom's mom. It's really important to make a great impression and be available for the people that are financing and providing for the wedding. So we really, really take it to heart that we meet those people, get a genuine interaction so that they can then trust us with their day.
You can play to your personality type. So for example, when we walk in, you know, you're a little bit more outgoing, more personal. You're really the life of the party. At the end of the day, I feel like we've almost gotten more compliments on that than the film itself.
Sure.
People will say, you guys were so fun to work with. So yeah, that's how we start the day. Meet the mom, meet the bride, make a good impression.
Yeah, I think so. After you meet the bride, and she's busy getting her makeup done. So we're meeting moms, and then we're really just setting the tone and building relationship throughout the rest of the day, for the rest of the day. So like saying hi to everyone, making yourselves known. Hey guys, we're your videographers, we're your, filmmakers for the day, but letting people enjoy the morning. They're still, trying to get ready and doing things. So you want to stay out of the way, but capture some of the authentic moments that are happening.
Yep. And from there, a big part of a wedding day is managing your downtime. So you may have some downtime. You walk in, she's getting ready. We like to take advantage of that time to shoot around the house, get detail shots of the house, get the dress. That's a big one. Establishing shots. If you're at a cool venue, get a drone shot during this time. It's really a great time to get all of that stuff knocked out while the bride is finishing up her makeup.
Yeah.
And kind of during that time too, another thing we like to do, say hi to the makeup artists. Really any vendor that's part of the wedding. The best thing that you can do for your business is make good impressions with other people in the industry. So make sure you meet them. We'll usually tell the makeup artist, hey, keep doing what you're doing. We'll stay out of your way. But do you mind if towards the end, we pull you over towards a window? We'll almost always move them because they almost always, it's never in the perfect spot right when you get there. So you kind of have to make the shot happen.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to them. Hey, in a few minutes when you're about ready to be done, can we pull you over by the window, get some finishing shots? Yep. And then we'll go shoot drone stuff, all of that stuff, get the dress.
Yeah.
And
networking at a wedding is really important. I think we've worked a lot of weddings and we've always seen makeup artists again, or we've seen DJs again, or we've seen the, wedding planners again. And so being able to build those relationships long-term and see them, they're going to refer you to people, other brides, and they're really going to help your business. If they like you as a person, if people really enjoy working with you, they're going to remember that and they're going to refer you to so many people.
Yep, absolutely. We've gotten referrals from makeup artists, photographers, wedding planners, all different kinds of vendors.
Yeah.
And so make sure that you make a good first impression and are friendly with all of them. Moving on from makeup, so brides, getting her makeup done. Typically in this time, the photographer will show up usually while around the same time or shortly after we do. Yeah. And so that's another big introduction. You need to introduce yourself to the photographer right away. Yep. A couple things we do is just establish with them your working relationship as early on as possible in the day. So don't wait until the portrait session to explain to them that you need to work back and forth and you need to get your shots. You want to make sure they get their shots. Right. And so ultimately, everything in the wedding day is designed to serve the bride. And so you both have to get shots. And so as long as you understand that early on in the wedding day, we've never had a problem. Yeah.
So we'll go to the photographer or photographers. Sometimes it's a husband-wife team. Sometimes it's just one single shooter. But we'll say, hey guys, so the goal today, we both need to get great shots. So let's work together. I think that's a really big thing for you wedding filmmakers out there. Let's work together. Yeah. Let's set the tone and let's collaborate in our day, because it's not about us. It's not about our content. It's about serving the bride. So if we can collaborate and we can operate together as a team, we really can create a great experience for the bride. And that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a big part of it. I would say that's one of the most important relationships on the wedding day, because not having that expectation set is just going to cause it to be frustrating.
Yeah.
You're going to walk out and you're going to create a podcast about wedding horror stories someday. And you don't want that. You don't want to have horror stories. So we try our best to avoid that. And you'll get, every once in a while, you'll get a photographer, or if you're a photographer, you'll work with a videographer that just doesn't get it. And that's okay. And that's where you have to learn how to adapt and go from there. But we can talk about that in a future episode.
So we're going to shoot the guys now. Usually the times where we're kind of finishing up shooting the girls, we'll need to go get a couple shots of the guys. Typically, their hotel's a little bit more messy, or their area's not super exciting to shoot. So we'll just grab the groom, get a couple shots by the window, adjusting his tie, throwing the jacket on, getting a cool wide, getting a couple tights, and really move on. We don't need a ton of it. It's really, really quick. And then so moving into that, we're heading to the venue.
Yeah. So I do want to back up a little bit, because one thing that we do, if you've watched our wedding films, you see this in almost every one of our films, is we strongly encourage that the couple write a letter or give a gift or do something special to each other. Right. And so that is really your opportunity. Typically after the bride is, done with makeup, but before the dress, we'll have her read her letter. Maybe she's still in a robe or whatever. And so that's your opportunity to get that audio, to have them read a letter before the dress. And then obviously you want to shoot after she gets in the dress, all of that stuff. And so, we have in our minds walking into a wedding day, we do have somewhat of a shot list in our head of certain shots we need to get. And so, things like zipping up the dress, what you said with the guys, like those are those staple shots. And our goal really isn't to reinvent the wheel, but it's to find the best possible way to shoot those shots, the best visual way to present those shots that we get almost every single time. And so, from there, after we get done shooting that, they're both ready to go. We'll head over to the venue, and depending on if the venue is where we'll stay or if we're leaving, that kind of dictates what gear we bring in. If it is where the reception is, we'll bring all of our gear in. It'll post up for the night. We'll be good. But a lot of times it's not. And so what are some first things when we show up to the venue that we're kind of looking for?
So oftentimes the first thing that we'll try to do is connect with the DJ. Oftentimes he's probably not there yet, but if he is setting up, we'll run over, hey, we're Glory Visuals. We're so happy to work with you today. We do have some audio equipment we love to plug into your board as just an output. Super simple. Oh, no worries. Yeah, we'll get that taken care of. And then if we could run a test maybe sometime right before, everything gets going. Oh yeah, no worries. Let me get finished set up. Like no problem. That's going to be a really big, important thing, is having a great established relationship with your vendors, because that's going to help the flow of the night, getting audio plugged in. Audio is so important. It drives our films. So we want to make sure that relationship's established.
Yeah. You have to be proactive with that. With every vendor, you have to be proactive with the DJ. You don't want to get to the speeches and have to plug in your audio then. So use your downtime, be smart with that. That's another part of really planning out the day. Until you get this to the point where you can kind of do it without thinking, like you should map this stuff out in your day where, as soon as we get to the venue, I'm going to go get my audio stuff set up. And so, and if you're a 2-person team, work together. One of you sets up the audio at the board. The other person goes and mics up the groom. Work together and kind of figure out your roles there. From that, usually we'll do a first look, typically.
Yeah, so depending on the wedding day, obviously they have an itinerary and how they're going to flow, if there is a first look or not. So we'll just say that there is a first look. So a thing that we've been doing lately is miking up the groom for the first look. Why do we do that, you ask? Well, it's because we have found some of the sweetest pieces of audio in the first time them looking at each other, the hug, the crying, and getting some of that clean audio has really moved our wedding films from good to great. And I think having that moment for them to have for a lifetime and have really, really great audio is really beautiful. So we really, really care about that. We do the same exact thing with dad. So if we have a first look with dad, we mic dad up. Dads are, it's either hit or miss. They're very silent and quiet and they just cry, or they have a lot of amazing things to say. And either way, it's just beautiful to be able to have that audio as an option when putting our film together.
Yep. So after first look, you're typically going, bride and groom are usually hiding away, eating some lunch, getting ready for the ceremony. People are starting to come in. And during this time, again, you want to take advantage of that downtime. So go into the place where they're getting married, get your angles figured out. We have a pretty standard, we do the same thing for the most part as far as angles go.
Yeah.
One of us is on a 35 on the glide cam.
Yep.
The other one's posted up on an 85 on a monopod.
Yep.
And when the ceremony starts, the person on the glide cam will typically either lead the people down the aisle or follow, depending. Sometimes there's rules with churches. And so, again, just being proactive again with the person at the church. Hey, is there any place I can't stand, any place I can't go? We've had multiple weddings in Catholic churches where we can't stand in the center aisle. And there's been times where we were told that 5 minutes before the ceremony started, even though I asked her before, an hour before.
Yeah.
And so you always have to be able to overcome challenges.
Be on your toes.
Yes. But yeah, we'll do 35, 85 almost always. The 85 will just follow people down the aisle from the side and then lock in on the groom once the groom gets down there, because you want to capture his reaction when he sees the bride walking down the aisle, especially if there's not a first look, but even if there is a first look.
Yep.
And so typically I'll be on glide cam, Darren will be on the 85, tracking people down the aisle. And I'll kind of, I'll be in front of them. They'll be walking towards me. I'll be backing up, walking backwards. So you do have to be mindful of your surroundings. Again, working with the photographer too. I think discussing this plan beforehand with the photographer is also very, very important, because you don't want to be in their shot. They don't want to be in your shot. So what we've found works best for us is typically the photographer also wants to be in the aisle. So if you just stand shoulder to shoulder with them, you can't be in their shot, they can't be in your shot. You can shoot from almost the same angle. Both get the shots you need. It works great.
It works every time.
Probably 95% of what we do every single time. Once the bridal party has reached the altar, I'll typically, if I'm on glide cam, I'll stop, put the camera up on a monopod because I don't want to hold the glide cam for 30 to 60 minutes. Darren or whoever's on the 85 will stay recording. And typically the glide cam shot will shoot in slow motion because we love to slow that shot down. But a lot of times we'll leave the 85 in 4K shooting at 24 frames per second. We always shoot the ceremony in that anyways. And so kind of how we've figured it out is the 85 will lock onto the groom. Once everyone is at the altar, I'll switch from 120 frames per second down to 4K 24. And while I'm doing that, you're staying on the groom, so you have a consistent angle that we can cut to in the meantime. So you have to stagger your start stops, especially if you're shooting on a camera with a 30-minute record limit. I'll switch to 4K, post up in my spot that I have found beforehand and set the monopod in beforehand, and we'll post up and shoot the entire ceremony from start to finish.
And so for even just communication wise, since we're not running like any kind of headset or anything, we'll just make sure we have eye contact. We look at each other when we're hitting that 27, 28 minute mark. We'll look at each other, stop, start, and we'll, be safe and good to go. And that's super crucial because we want to be able to deliver the entire ceremony. That's just part of our package. We've always done it. We always will. It's just, why would we keep it? Let's give it to them. Let's add value to them. Let's give them their whole ceremony. They'll probably watch it once every 10 years, but at least they'll have it.
And as far as audio, we run a recorder out of the board if possible. Always try to do that as a fail-safe. And then we will mic up at least the officiant and the groom with lavalier mics. And if the bride wants to, we've done it before, and I think it's great if you're able to. It is an extra step, so you have to make sure you build that time in and you have time to do that. But we'll at least mic up the officiant and the groom, and then we'll get good enough audio from those two mics from the bride. So that's kind of our audio setup. We'll shoot the ceremony.
Cool. Kiss the bride, they're married.
That's
now
right.
What?
Yeah, so I would say about, you can kind of tell when the ceremony is coming to a close. So at some point, when I feel that he's about ready to close it, I'll switch back to 120 frames per second sometimes because getting the kiss in slow-mo is super cool. And finish out the ceremony. We always try to get a solid moving shot of the kiss because that's a shot we almost always will include in our films. And so knowing those really important moments, being prepared for those. So the ceremony's over. He kissed the bride. They said yes. They're married. They're announced. And I think that's a good spot.
So before we move forward, let's do our this week's Chug-a-Lug break.
Chug-a-Lug! All right. This week's Chug-a-Lug Break is brought to you by Brett Bruner.
Yeah, the homie.
The Brunamite.
Brunamite.
Brett Bruner is an awesome photographer here in Omaha.
Yep.
And he actually shot your wedding.
He shot my wedding.
And it was awesome.
It was so good.
We've worked with him probably more than any other photographer at this point.
Yeah.
Just by chance, which is great. We've been booked the same wedding as him several times.
Yes.
And he's super talented. And I think more than his talent, the energy that he carries is what makes him so great for a wedding day.
Totally. We've talked about it, earlier in this podcast, but bringing your energy and your personality into the day, is super crucial. Being just a hype man and really loving your job. He's an amazing wedding photographer. He has the best, spirit. He loves what he does, and it's really important in this industry that you got to love your job.
Yeah.
And he loves his job. So if you're interested at all in looking for a photographer for your wedding, hit Brett Bruner up, brettbruner.com. He's phenomenal.
That's right.
All right, let's do it.
Chug-a-lug. Drink more water, everybody.
Let's go. Cheers, buddy.
I won this time. I beat you.
I can't breathe.
I beat you this time.
My insides are drowning. Oh, man. That was good.
If there's any health experts listening, is this a valid way to drink water? Does this actually hydrate you?
Oh, yeah.
Does it?
Sure.
Okay.
100%. We're good.
Oh, I kind of feel sick now. So we started Chug-a-Lug, like we mentioned in the last episode, or when we announced the Chug-a-Lug Break. We started it because we weren't drinking enough water. So we figure if we just isolate our water drinking times to just chugging a full bottle of water 3 times a day, then we don't have to spend as much time drinking water, but we can still get the benefits. So
it's science.
I don't know if that's, accurate or not. Maybe that doesn't actually do anything if you chug water. I don't know. But.
Yeah, it's kind of cool because Brett Bruner actually chug-a-lugged with us a ton, like every wedding that we go to.
That's true.
It's great. Chug-a-lug.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I hope you're all feeling hydrated now that you chugged a bottle of water with us, which is the requirement. That's the payment for listening to the podcast. You have to chug a bottle of water with us.
Not too bad.
So
cool.
All right. Well, now that we're all nice and hydrated, we'll keep going. So ceremony's over. They said yes. They said I do.
Yeah.
What is next?
Yeah. So typically what happens now, there will be a cocktail hour in a little bit, and there probably will be a party bus. But right before all of that, they'll do family portraits, and we don't typically shoot a lot of this stuff. We get a couple shots and then we'll bounce. Yep. So they'll finish that up, and we're really thinking through, where are we going to do the sunset session? Mm-hmm. Where are we going to get those portraits that are going to be so beautiful with the photographer, and thinking through that stuff, maybe looking up ideas online, or just trying to get a good feel for what that needs to look like. And then we'll head to the venue, and we'll probably grab lunch or grab something or an energy drink at this time, and just kind of get some downtime because, again, we don't shoot any of the family stuff. So, or not a lot of it anyway. Yeah.
And again, these are questions that you want to be asking the photographers when it presents itself, when there's opportunity, when there's downtime. Mm-hmm. Hey, what are you guys thinking for the portrait session tonight? Yeah. They'll almost always have that time built in to get just one-on-one, just with the bride and groom. Yep. That's crucial, not only for photos, those are the ones they're going to print, but it's also crucial for video. Mm-hmm. And so that's really your time to create the shots that you want. Get creative with posing, and really work together with the photographer. And what we found is the best photographers to work with are ones that use motion in their posing. Yeah. I think of Trin Jensen. Yeah. Working with her on Maddie and Rich's film was just a blast because she's playing music, she's got vibes going, and her posing is, hey, I want you guys to dance. I want you to whisper in her ear while you're dancing. Yep. And the shots I was able to get for video were awesome.
Yeah, it matters a lot.
And so the best relationship is where you can both help each other create shots that are better than what you would have gotten on your own. Yep. And that's really where you want to ideally live. And so there's some photos that it's better when they're just standing still. But some of our poses end up being better photos than if it were just a posed photo. And so you really learn to work work together there. So take advantage of portrait session. And that's something too that we encourage our brides when we first meet with them. That's one of like the requirements, or one of the things we give them. Hey, if you can build in 30 to 45 minutes at some point in the day, preferably close to sunset, where we can take you out just alone. And that's really a time in the day for them to be with each other. So it's not just a portrait opportunity. And I really want us to help you guys listening see that all of these things in the day, they're all opportunities. So the portrait session, this is an opportunity for the bride and groom to be alone together, to take a breath after the ceremony, after all the craziness. They're stressed. They've been around people all day. And so the worst thing you can do is make that stressful. And so you really want to be fun, be friendly, help remove stress. If the bride needs a bottle of water, or we'll almost always ask the bride, maybe that's a tiny little practical tip right there. Like during the portrait session, ask the bride, hey, do you need a water? Most of the time they'll say yes. And we've had brides, like, that's what they remember about us, that we got them a water during the portrait session. So like, it's just little things like that, that make that moment special for them.
So that's a big moment for them. And then moving on, just kind of going into, say, fast forward through the cocktail hour and the party bus is over, we're going into the entrance. And so this is a big deal because we always shoot this, and it's a pretty big part of the film, I think, really transitioning from pretty soft music into the party. This is really the segue between those two things. And so we'll shoot kind of similar to how we do with the ceremony when the wedding party is walking down. We'll get that glide cam shot of them doing their little dance. A lot of the times they announce their name, Megan and Derek, and they'll come out and they'll do a little dance, or they'll, have a beer in their coat and drink it, or they'll throw the flowers like a football.
Somebody will get iced.
Someone will get iced. That happened before. So just really like goofy, fun things. But we want to capture that personality because that's fun. That's, they worked on a little thing together in the back, and you want to make sure that you capture that. So we get that. The bride and groom gets announced, and they come out, and everyone goes crazy, usually stands up. It's really loud roar. Make sure we capture in some of that audience clapping and yelling and cheering, and we'll get that all the way till they get to their seat, and then we'll walk into cake cutting and just kind of the traditional first dances, and we capture all that stuff.
That's really one of the most intense parts of the day. I almost feel like it's more stressful sometimes in the ceremony, because the checklist that I'm running through in my head before all of this happens. You get to the venue, you load in, you want to meet the DJ if you haven't already. I know we mentioned that, but say hi to the DJ, explain to him what you need to capture audio, plug that stuff in, get it tested. You need to have your light set up if you're going to have a light. A lot of times they'll go straight into speeches. And so this is a part of the day where things are back to back to back to back to back. And so you have to prepare right when you walk into the venue. You got to get all this stuff set up before they're ready to walk in. And so audio's rolling, the lights set up where it needs to go, cameras, we have positions, we've chatted with the photographers, made sure we're all in position, we're ready to go. Communicate with the DJ. Sometimes they'll wait for you. Sometimes they'll give you a couple extra minutes, and then you can say, all right, we're ready to go. And then they'll cue them in. From there, they walk in. A lot of times they'll do a toast right away. So you got to be ready for that. Have audio rolling, have the light where it needs to be, know where the DJ is going to put the person, where they're going to put the microphone. We just purchased a little recorder that we're going to put in a sleeve on the microphone as a backup. We'd recommend doing that. You can't be too prepared for this because the unfortunate reality is that not all DJs are the same. And not all of them know how to send a good output out of the board that's at the right levels, that sounds good, that doesn't have interference. And so
sadly that's truth.
And so you have to be thinking through backups of audio always. Toast start, and then really dinner.
Let's talk about dinner.
Dinner is good.
Dinner's a fun time for us. So we feel so blessed all the time, obviously, to be a part of a really beautiful day, but then to have a plate and a place to sit with our name on it is just a really special ad that brides will do sometimes. And it's really sweet. Sometimes there's a vendor table, which is awesome because you can connect with the vendors. But sometimes there's like a place with glory visuals and our names. And it's just, it's really
so important.
Yeah, it's just really cool. It's really special. And I love food. Austin loves food. So we will smash, we'll kind of chill for a minute and just really relax for that dinner time, because there's nothing really to shoot there. We don't typically use food footage.
You don't want shots of people stuffing food in their mouth.
No, and maybe we'll grab, if the display of food and all of that and the snacks, if it looks really pretty and it's lit well, we'll probably grab a shot or two of that. But other than that, we'll post up, set our cameras down, and really go to town and eat a crap ton of food.
Yeah, and part of that preparation too is you can get all those establishing shots before they walk in.
Totally.
Grab shots of the food table, grab a shot of the cake, get all that stuff, because you're not going to want to get that later. There's not going to be time for it.
Yeah.
And so you have to really use that time slot wisely.
Yep.
And so, once we sit down for dinner, I don't know what the standard is for this, but we personally go up for food right after the head table and before the rest of the tables.
Yeah, we just started doing that though. We always didn't know when or where we fit. We didn't want to budge, but we noticed that if we were to wait a longer time or go after a lot of people are in line, we're probably going to start missing, or we're eating while speeches are about to start, and then our food gets cold and then we don't eat a meal. So we just, we'll go right after the head table, and we haven't found any issues with it. We'll usually grab the photographer and a couple other vendors. Hey, let's go grab food quick. Let's eat it. And then let's be ready to go for speeches.
Yep.
So that's kind of our flow, and it's been working out.
Yeah. So we eat, get ready for speeches, get our angles set up.
Yep.
Our typical setup for speeches is, again, 35 and 85.
Yep.
We'll usually put the 35 on the couple, get their reaction, 85's on the speaker.
Yep.
It depends what the lighting scenario is in the venue, whether we'll set up a light or not.
Yeah.
We record the entirety of the speeches, 2 angles, and we deliver that to the couple after the fact as well. So we give them a video that's just the speeches by themselves.
Yeah.
Because we won't include all of that in the film, and we're shooting all of it. So why wouldn't we give it to them so they can remember that?
So we side by side those 2 angles, we fully treat it and fully color it and deliver it in our wedding packages.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're catching audio through the board. Typically they're using a wireless mic, and then, like I said, putting a little recorder on the mic itself in case there's interference or anything like that.
Yep.
Typically right after speeches or first dances a lot of the times, and we'll almost always set up a light for dances just to give a little bit of, backlight. We usually light from behind.
Yeah.
Shoot into that. You can get some cool flares if you're using like a 120D or something like that.
Yep.
Most of the time we'll shoot the whole thing. We don't really deliver the first dances as its own video typically, unless it's asked for specifically, if it's something that's, really well planned or thought out, or it's really special. After that, the hard part's over, I think, for the day. Those are the important things you can't redo. You don't want to ever have anyone redo any of the things we've just talked about. And so that's why all this preparation is so important, because you do not want to have someone redo their first look, redo the kiss, redo their first dance. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's not really an option. Now really the hard stuff is shot, and now it's just to get fun stuff. So we try to be really intentional with the dance footage and getting kids, grandparents, family members, and really get a good variety of everyone. The reality is we can't actually shoot every single person that's dancing, or we'll be on the dance floor for 30, 40 minutes and not everyone is on there yet. And so we really just feel it out, get as much as we can. We try to get the couple dancing and having fun as much as we can. And then we'll just be, we feel pretty good. We got enough footage of this. So we'll move into the exit, which is a really big moment. It ends our films most of the time. Yeah. And so it means a lot that there's a lot of people available. So sometimes we'll try to encourage a false exit, or if they have a hard deadline that they want to do it by 10 p.m., then we'll just wait for that time. But either way, we like to really capture that well. And so we'll think through that, once we feel like we have enough dance footage. Yeah.
After the exit, if we feel like we have enough of everything else, we pack up. Before we leave, we always make it a point to go say goodbye to the bride and groom.
Yeah.
And really by that point in the night, we've built a relationship with the couple.
Yeah.
And we say that, it's kind of cheesy. We say it to all of our brides and grooms, but it's our goal to be your best friends on your wedding day.
Yeah.
And so we feel like we've done that on almost all of our wedding films. By the end of the night, we're to a point where we're going to give the bride and groom a hug and tell them congratulations. Thank them again.
Yeah.
for trusting us with their day. Ask them if they need anything else, because at the end of the day, we're not set on leaving right now, but we have what we need. Do you guys need anything else? Is there anything else going on?
Yeah.
And sometimes, we'll just stick around and hang out and have fun, because a lot of the weddings that we shoot, we very much become a part of the dance party.
Yeah.
So the bride and groom have exited. If it's a false exit, they'll go back in and you're done pretty much. And it's kind of nice to do those false exits, because then the bride and groom is done too. They just get to have fun.
Yep.
And so we'll go kind of pack up if we feel like we have enough dance footage. Double check. I'll usually double check with the DJ. Hey, is there anything else going on that we don't know about? Any other games or whatever? Anything that's really important to the film.
Yep. And then we'll go try to find the mom and dad of both sides, really, just whoever we can say goodbye and thank you for having us. Almost always make it a point. Hey, it was such an honor to be a part of this day. Every time, 10 out of 10, they're, oh my gosh, you guys made it so much fun. You guys were so great. They haven't even seen the film yet. We could be the worst filmmakers ever, and they're so pleased with our services that sometimes they'll even tip us, or they'll even hug us. The mom will be like, oh my gosh, it was so fun. And that just means a lot to us. Yeah. I really love that we get to bring so much value to a day and be recognized for it, and see the value that we bring. Yeah.
And that's the ultimate goal, that we served the bride well. We made an impact on that wedding. Yeah. You can feel it. You can tell. If you're leaving and you have, the whole bridal party saying goodbye to you, the bridesmaids and the groomsmen are shaking your hand, saying bye. If they notice that you're leaving, you've done a good job. I think.
I agree.
And so we pride ourselves on that a lot, that when we leave a wedding, we really do feel like we built a relationship with the entire wedding party. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a wedding film.
It's a wedding. That's a wedding day.
It's a wrap. We hope that if you're a wedding filmmaker, or if you're looking to get into wedding filmmaking, that this brought you some value, maybe that this provided some level of a framework, maybe answered some questions. And hopefully this brought some value to you.
Yeah, so if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. If you're listening to Apple Podcasts, we'd love it if you shared it, downloaded it, and better yet, if you would actually rate it. It helps Apple know that, what you're listening to is good, and it'll push us to the top, and just, give us a little bit of encouragement as well. So thank you guys so much. We're so blessed that you listen, and we love you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.